The Post is directed by Steven Spielberg and stars Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks, Bob Odenkirk, and my man Pat Healy. So awesome to see him in a Steven Spielberg movie. He's a really great guy. I got to meet him one time. He was super awesome, and I know for a fact he was probably nerding out every single time he was on set with Spielberg and all those people, so it was so cool to see him in this film. And this film tells the true story of the Pentagon Papers. This is a big event that happened in history right before Watergate broke. It was a scandal that involved the government's knowledge of things that they weren't revealing to the public. And when the Washington Post got the proof of these things, Nixon decided, you know what? The press is going to be sued, and we're going to shut down all of these newspapers. Anybody who talks about this, anyone who reveals classified information, you're all screwed, and that's what I'm going to do. And so the reporters are faced with a dilemma. Do we publish this information? Can we figure out what this information is? Can we sift through it in enough time to get the paper published tomorrow morning, or should we even do it at all? Spielberg fast-tracked this film into production when he got a hold of the script. He had already completed filming Ready Player One, and that's in post-production now, and he went to shoot this movie unplanned and pretty much right out of left field because he was so passionate about the source material and he felt the script was very relevant for today's climate. And it is. Today's world has the Trump administration constantly calling out the media and trying to control it and figure out what information the public is getting and what information the public isn't getting. And we've seen a lot come out about that in the news recently. And The Post is a very relevant film for today's climate. And it's one of the things that I think works the most about it. In future years, perhaps in future decades, that will remain to see how well this film holds up against films like All the President's Men, which was actually about Watergate and is an excellent film still today. The Post does not feel like it will age as well as that film. And a lot of that has to do with what Spielberg chooses to focus on and what the script chooses to focus on. Sometimes it tries to communicate the difficulties of running a paper and how hard it was back then. They show just how much physical labor actually went into getting a paper printed in time, which I thought was pretty interesting and definitely something that made the film have a realistic tone. All that being said, sometimes the more dramatic elements of this story, the do we publish this? What are the ramifications of publishing this? Will we end up in jail? Sometimes those more riveting elements are pushed to the background, making the first half of the film drag, because it's not until the last half that these Pentagon papers get in the hands of these reporters. And from that moment on, I thought the film drastically improved and became very exciting. It's that first half that feels a little unfocused because they're setting up real conflict with Meryl Streep, who is the owner of the Washington Post. She's thinking about going public with the paper, thus giving up some authority that she already has, and there are men behind the scenes trying to abuse their power against her because they think they can. And so that is also very relevant for today. But once they get the papers in their hands, the film becomes that riveting journalism drama that I wanted from the beginning. Standouts here for myself were Bob Odenkirk. I think he deserves a Best Supporting Actor nomination. He was terrific. And Hanks' character is scruffy, he's seasoned, he's been around for a long time, he's seen everything there is to see in this business, and he plays it beautifully as usual. Streep is good. She is a little Oscar baity. In fact, a lot of people are going to say this movie is a little Oscar baity, and in many ways, you can look at it like that. And there's sequences where it feels like, okay, this is where Spielberg is directing his big, awe-inspiring moment for this character, and it just sort of does feel like those Spielberg moments we're used to seeing. Like, here comes that scene where we slowly dolly in on someone as they tell us a great speech about their life, and it's supposed to be really inspiring, and John Williams' music swells. And in the past, with great films like Bridge of Spies, which I think is highly underrated, that really works, it's because the characters were set up better. And in this film, the characters don't have the same type of meat on their bones that a film like Bridge of Spies had. So the best things about The Post are that it's extremely timely and very relevant to today's conversation. The performances across the board are all uniformly great. The last half is extremely riveting. That first half, though, is a little tough to get through because it feels a little like, where are we going? When are we going to get to what we know is happening? But I would recommend seeing The Post, and I'm going to give it a B. I was expecting it to be a little better considering Spielberg fast-tracked it into production and he was so inspired by the script, but this is still a good movie and one filled with great work, and you should see it. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.